back to Bunters Yard, and this was just going to be just me weathering the exhaust on this 66, but I think probably this is going to be another two parts. So today we're going to concentrate on the roof, mainly the exhaust. You know, the reason I kind of want to take a bit of time doing that is that I've done these before, and lots of people they just kind of get weathered with a bit of sooty black and some rusty powders or paints. But there's lots more going on with rusty things, especially exhausts. So yeah, we're going to work a little bit more on this. So this is the Bachmann 66, and the exhaust is in that primer red, but I want to put it in black just in case we miss anything, and then it will give the impression of it being in shadow anyway, and it gives us a nice base to start from. And then we're going to give it a first coat of barley grey, which is a bit of an odd colour, but it's kind of a like a metallic-y sort of tone, if you know what I mean. Oh, you'll see in a minute anyway. Anyway, so we're going to do a bit of chipping, as you see. So we're using the chipper medium from the airbrush, and it comes out nice and splattery. So it does come out in a like hairspray, and it will coat everything. This one comes out in little blobs here and there. You can see it's kind of got a textured surface on that. We'll let that dry, and then we'll give it a going over with steel. So this is the main colour of what I envisage an exhaust to be made from. So I imagine it's made from steel at some point down the line. And then we do plain water once that's dry, and we'll very gently just dab it back. Now, to give you an idea, the chipper medium takes maybe 15-20 minutes to dry fully, and then once we've put the silver coat on this steel, it really needs just 5 minutes or so just to dry. If you let it dry for much too long, obviously it'd be more difficult to get off, which may be a good thing. I'll leave that bit to you, but that's what I've done anyway. Sort of 15-20 minutes we have the chipper medium, and then 5 minutes to let that steel dry. And then we're using this. I haven't used this one not on camera before, but this is a wash from Vallejo. I kind of sort of experiment a bit today with this. So dabbing it on, I'm trying not to brush it, because if I brush it, quite possibly I'd move the layer underneath. Say I'm not brushing it, I'm very gently brushing it, so there's no force behind that at all, because otherwise it would, like I say, possibly disrupt the layer below. Anyway, so we'll let that dry a little bit. You can see it sort of moving back and finding its own little way. That's what washes do, but it's probably a bit heavier than I want, so we'll just put a bit more on there anyway, on the exhaust bit, on that box. You can see it's drying on the exhaust box, on that kind of muffler, and that will sort of find its own place, but it's just a bit too heavy, so we're going to let it dry, and then we'll sort of manipulate it just a little bit. So I've just got a dry brush, and we just sort of knocking it back here and there. So we really don't want it as sort of pronounced as it initially is. Take off a few patches here and there. I wanted it concentrated in the middle, the rust kind of effects, and just fading out a little bit to the edges. So that's what we're doing here, just taking some of the edge sort of rusting off a little bit. That's kind of where we're at. So now we use our weathering powders. So this is just going straight on top of the paints and the washes. It's going to be very slightly sort of tacky. The wash won't be fully dry, so it will sort of grab onto some of the of the weathering powders, and I'm using a selection of different powders. These are the rust ones from Vallejo, so it's part of the set, and that's the dark rust that's going on. And then there's also burnt sienna, I think it is, and a couple of different shades of brown. But these are just basically the rust tones. Using a fairly large soft brush to apply these, and kind of want to concentrate on these around those like feet where it joins onto the roof. Anything where there's a join in metal, that's where the rust is kind of going to grow from, I guess. And that's what we're working on here. That's the plan anyway. And this is the kind of yellow rust, which look a bit weird to start with, but once it's all kind of blended in and lacquered up, it actually looks quite good, I think. Well, that's my opinion anyway. I'm probably biased. And then on this part here, so same sort of thing again. Just concentrating on around those joins, because that's where it's kind of a weak part of the construction of these. That's done for now. Then we'll just take the masking off, and then we can carry on. I was going to initially stop here. I just want to do this, but I think you kind of need to put it into some sort of context. So I decided on this part we'll do the rest of the roof, and I'm going to do the rest of the sides of the body of the loco. So we'll do that in a second video. So there will be a part 2, but it's part 1. I just want to concentrate on this exhaust and on the roof. That's what we're going to do. We'll carry on, just clean this bit up, and then we shall crack on with the next part. So these panels on the top, just doing something just to really break the sea of greyness up on the top there. So I thought a couple of those little panels, maybe we'd make them slightly different colour, as if they've been replaced or they're faded a bit differently to the rest. Now try to paint here with a brush on one you'll see in a moment, this one here, but I didn't like it, so I thought we'd just we'd use the airbrush. Gives a much sort of softer colour to it, so none of the edges. So we're just using this same barley grey. It's ever so slightly lighter than the grey on the roof, so it'll just look, see if it's, like I say, weathered slightly differently. We're going to give it one pass with that. And then just to give a little bit of variation, we're going to mix a little bit of white. So we're using Vallejo off-white, and just a drop in there. It doesn't need a lot. Just going to mix it in really quickly. So it's just going to make it a shade or two lighter. Now, if you do mix in the airbrush, just make sure the first bit you blow out onto a piece of tissue, because it will come out the wrong colour. It will come out the original colour, because the bit you're mixing won't be in the nozzle just straight away. So just Just spray it onto a tissue until you get the colour that you've just mixed up. And you can see just adds a slight, a little bit sort of hazing and a variation. Now it looks a bit odd, sort of standing out on its own. But we'll do a little bit of dry brushing. Now I'm using the steel again to dry brush, and it just picks out those highlights. We're not trying to necessarily make it look like you know, a silver edge. It's just to give a highlight edge to the raised detail. And because this is a Model Air colour, it's already pre-mixed and pre-thinned. It's quite a sort of well, it's thinned and it's quite runny, so you need to really knock a lot off your brush. Make sure, otherwise you just start painting everywhere. So yeah, just beware when you clean your brush back, when you dry brush, that you get all of it off. It's just it's amazing how much you need to remove from your brush. But anyway, so we're just picking up the those edge details. I'm going to go all along into the red as well. It's just to create a highlight, not necessarily to make it look silver. So you could use any colour, you could do a different shade of grey if you wanted to. So we're going to seal everything in until we can go on to the next stage, and we just use the polyurethane matte varnish, which was mixed 50-50 in the airbrush, and then this month's favourite colour, which is this model colour from Vallejo. It's called Smoke. So it comes out like a sort of translucently, well, it's a smoke colour. Especially good for steam engines, but it's like a nice exhaust colour for diesel locos as well. And you get, especially over the silver, it'll give us different sort of tones. We'll get these sort of burnt, sort of bronzy, coppery tones that you see on things like these exhausts, especially. You'll see in a moment how it goes. I just think it's a nice effect. So we're going to add the smoke basically all along the middle of the roof, and concentrate a little bit around some of the vents and around the exhaust that we've just fitted. And we can create some runs as well, whether we're to run it down into streaks. Like that. And we continue down the body. Once we do the body, we'll finish that bit off possibly. And then at the ends of the on the roofs, there'll be a concentrate of smoke and soot there as well. Speaking of soot, well, this is the Humbrol Black powder, which is absolutely great. Really good coverage. Love using this. So we're going to concentrate again on the areas where I'm not sure if that's really where any would come out, but there definitely would be soot residue in these kind of areas, but particularly around here. I think this probably is where the exhaust comes from. Now with your weathering powders, make sure that you don't overload your brush. It's difficult to get powder off once you put too much on your model, especially on a freshly painted surface like this. To get the powder off if you overdo it is possibly impossible, I'd guess, without stripping it all back. So just use a little bit. It's easier to add more. It's very difficult to take it off though. Now, they don't have to be uniform. It can be a little bit more random. You might want to have more soot on one side for whatever reason. It won't always be symmetrical from one side to the other, or from one end to the other, and they're all going to be slightly different. And the same on this this grill that's on the end. We're just going to add a little bit of the smoke in. You can see once we've added the black soot, just some of the nice sort of tones. You can just see it's quite a nice sort of gradation from black into that goldy sort of bronze into silver. It's just I think it just works nice. And then just a little bit of one of the rust tones just on the tops of the grill. There's generally a little bit of a patch here and there. And that's it, we're pretty much done for today. So thanks to everyone for joining us today, all of our members who have recently subscribed, and a big shout out to all of our super fans of Bunters Yard that help to make this channel what it is. Until next time, until part 2 of this one, thank you for watching, and we will see you very soon. Have a great day.